Man City 2, Real Madrid 3. Tactical breakdown.
Vinicius, and he's chipped it beyond the goalkeeper, and Bellingham!
And Pep tried to surprise Ancelotti with this. Carlo solved the issue mid-game, adapting to win, and here's how he did it. So straight away, Pep Guardiola sprung a surprise upon Carlo Ancelotti, starting with 5 centre-backs on the pitch. Yes, 5, including John Stones as a midfielder, which would ultimately alter his team's build-up structure. Man City built up play in a 2-3 structure where Akanji and Gvardiol would come in extremely narrow to join that midfield line alongside John Stones. And here is your structure. And this caused a problem for the 4-4-2 defensive structure of Real Madrid. Because right off the bat, although it's a 2v2 for the front line, it effectively became a 2v1 in favour of City because one of these strikers had to ultimately drop back to provide a little bit of cover. Now this structure also caused some interference for Real Madrid's wingers, who were never really quite sure where they needed to be at any given time. If they in fact inverted to mark the City centre-back, then the Man City number 10s would be free to drift into this space and receive the ball, as the Man City wingers were doing a really good job at occupying the Real Madrid fullbacks. And with the 2 Real Madrid centre-backs needing to keep track of Haaland, then they couldn't really go into this zone to apply a press to the Man City number 10. And Man City were actually causing Real Madrid a lot of problems down the left-hand side. Now, we know how good Gvardiol is at making those half-space runs, but because this time he was starting from a far more central position, he could cause Real Madrid a lot more problems. One problem being, who was going to pick up Gvardiol? And that was why City's central overload was so effective, because there would always be a spare man. And this led to the first goal. Gvardiol makes a really good deep run, getting right on top of the Real Madrid centre-backs who were obviously meant to be tracking Haaland. And Gvardiol and Haaland are able to double up. And that's where they get their goal. Really clever movement. However, Pep possibly didn't consider what would happen next. Real noticed that they could really hurt Man City down the left-hand side. You had Bellingham, who was almost acting as that free roaming player. He was able to drift. And then you had Vinny and Mbappe, who are very comfortable at operating from the left-hand side. So you often saw them drifting wide to make those inverted runs into the middle, and they would rotate really nicely with each other. And problems arose when City's in-possession intensity dropped. Now, to try and counter this, Pep brought on Rico Lewis, who is a naturally left-sided defender, so he thought it might help in those 1v1 situations. And he also then brought onto the pitch Kovacic, who was able to help in those transitional moments that were always inevitably going to come. But Real used a key and simple principle which helped them take control. It's called overload to isolate. And it essentially means you overload heavily one side of the pitch, forcing the opposition to shuffle their defensive structure across to deal with this, and then you switch the play to the side, to the man which is free on the other side, and that's how you can get the ball up the pitch. Now, Real obviously noticed that Man City were getting narrower and narrower in their defensive structure as they were trying to defend the lead that they had. But Real still had the pace and the intensity to dominate the last 10 minutes of that match. But they did this without even needing to press, because it was Man City's errors that invited the pressure of Real Madrid. And City didn't seem to drop off accordingly based on the state of the game, leaving too much space in behind in these areas for Real Madrid to attack on the transition. And there were some really sloppy in possession moments from Man City in that last 10 minutes. Edison, really poor kick, kicking it straight to Real Madrid. Kovacic losing the ball, really sloppy. I'll tell you one person who wouldn't have lost the ball in that position, Rodri. So it's clear from this game and many other games that Pep's side have maybe got a concentration problem, failing to remain focused in the final moments of matches, and subs coming onto the pitch who maybe don't fully understand their roles. In this case, in such a complex system against a world-class team in Real Madrid. How does Pep solve this problem? And will City overturn this deficit, or is it too late? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to drop a follow if you are enjoying the content.